Yeah,
Well, you know. I was helping Deadbeat Dad the other day, but he got a bit grumpy. he was going to do a talk show about void orders, and I've had discussions about him about void orders and how you
I love
mentioned
orders.
I know I love orders too, but I remember you mentioned him once in one of your talk shows about this guy kicking ass in England and having meetings with the government, and then next there was another audio that I heard where you said. About Maurice liking to do void orders, and you should cancel the void orders, and how no, you shouldn't cancel the void orders. You should accept the order. You should embrace the order. So yeah, lovely order. Thank
That's
you
how
very
you
much.
make money. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
They take all the orders every.
yeah. So well, I think from his point of view, because he was halfway through a legal mumbo gumbo, he found use in the void orders to void what he'd done so far with the legal world. So that yeah, but I think if you're starting afresh, you should
No,
just.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't void any orders, man. Of course, I love orders.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gotta find the man who fucking created that son of a bitch.
That's the hard bit.
So I can hold him liable. Yeah, that's the trick, is finding the son of a bitch who created that order so I can hold him liable.
Exactly. That's
And 9 times out of 10, you created your own damn orders.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny. They don't bear any liability.
I know.
You asked them for help. They were there for your benefit, and you accepted their terms of your confession. You know, like just confess. You know, they'll be closer to God. You know, you owe no debt. We'll help you with your confession. You know, we'll help you. You know, atone for your debt.
Spanish Inquisition shit.
Be nice, man. No, it's just, you know, exactly, kind of like that, right? And it's like, you know,
It is.
we're here to help.
We're here to help the Jews that baptized as Christians. We're here to help you guys.
Right.
Release your soul.
Right. And priests wouldn't kill people. That's right.
Yeah, that's all good. So, talking of nailing the SOBs, can I just run a few? I'm just a little bit stuck. I'm not entirely stuck, but I'm just a little bit stuck, and I just like a little pointers just so I can go on my way and crack on, and leave you in peace. If you would oblige.
In peace or pieces?
No, just peace. One piece.
Oh, you want piece? Okay. Not multiple pieces?
No. You can have your lowercase I with the head still attached. You know, you can.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It's lovely. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So you mentioned about affidavits, and when some legal people come at you and they call in some Mickey Mouse witness who does an affidavit against you. Now, when you said about turning it over to
bank or something, yeah.
Court of record, or anything like that, you know, when you turn it into a court of record, and you've often said that all their affidavits get rescinded mysteriously.
No, nothing. No, they have to just bring the man forth to swear that affidavit is true.
No, but I think in your case, didn't it? Because they realised it was based on a fraud document of your kid. You said all the affidavits were mysteriously withdrawn from the case that they.
Oh, that was from the case against Jonathan and Jesse.
Oh, was it Jonathan and Jesse?
The Crown's case against Jonathan and Jesse. The Crown in that case was like empty now. They said because everybody was throwing their affidavits.
Convenient now.
You know, they submitted their affidavits. That's what they believed was true. Now they don't believe it's true, so they took them all back.
Fair enough. They can change their mind if they
after
wish.
They heard something in court that made them believe something different.
Yeah. So with that case, presumably these affidavits. People can still come into court against Jesse and Jonathan then and say, this person's, you know, they've done this, they've done that, they've done this, and they have it in an affidavit, but they still might come into court as a witness.
A witness to what? To the robbery?
That's what I'm confused about, because this is where
the child was robbed. They were robbed of their property, what belonged to them.
Well, they might have like concern about, let's say, the drugs and the firearms associated with
I don't give a shit. Dude, I can fucking pour my kids in oil. I don't give a fuck. What part of this don't you understand?
No, I'm just saying this is obviously from
it's from domestic authority, dude. Can the Queen of England, can the fucking RAF go into fucking Saudi Arabia because they're chopping off women's hands who are driving cars?
Domestic authority doctrine and all that.
Right, they can't. They can't go in and they can't fucking start fucking killing people in Saudi Arabia, can they? We can't get involved. If they want to chop off the women's hands in Saudi Arabia for wearing makeup, that's what's going to happen to the women in Saudi Arabia. It's not a fucking thing we can do about it. They're their children. It's the king's children, the president's children. Those citizens are children. They have a daddy called Barack Obama. They got a fucking daddy called Cameroon. Yeah, he's your daddy, whether you like it or not. I did that when I did my English shows. It's funny as shit. I walked into there and I do a show. I say, hey, everybody, like I'm from I'm from across the pond. Hooray, so do we have any Canadians in here? No. So, okay, let's start out with something cool. I want to hear everybody say, I am not a Canadian citizen. I'm not a Canadian citizen.
I bet they all
say, good. Now I want to hear everybody say, I'm not a U.S. citizen. Now I want to hear everybody say, I'm not a fucking an English citizen. And you hear crickets chirping.
Yeah, I bet you did. I bet they were
because you all want to you all love Daddy Cameron. Whether you like him or not, you really do love him. You know Daddy might be an asshole sometimes, but honestly, deep down, you love Daddy. You love Cameron. You can't help yourself.
So
you love fucking Blair. You love Hopper.
No one likes Blair. Jesus. We learned the lesson.
You all love him because he's your daddy. You might not like him, but he's your daddy. Because you all remain citizens. And he's your daddy.
Right.
So you have to respect your daddy. You might not like him, but you gotta, you still gotta love him. He's your daddy. So gotta obey him. He's your daddy.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking the only time probably you're a US citizen or when I'm a UK citizen is when I go on a holiday to another country.
Depends. If somebody asks you. Somebody questions your citizenry. They ask you.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, so my dad said the number one thing about the Jewish people was back, like I said, they came from Germany, and why the German government was so worried about the Jewish people is because they have no citizenry to any nation on earth. They're the people of God. They only have a duty and obligation to respect and honor God's laws, none of man's laws. They will not respect any man's laws. So if you try to get them to act as a citizen of that country, they don't feel they have a duty and obligation to that country. They only have a duty and obligation. They only serve one master, and that's God.
Yeah.
So that's why my dad said everybody's so scared of these Jewish people because they didn't know if they were going to, whose side they were going to fight on. Because they even though they were born in Germany, they had no loyalty to Germany. They were not, as far as they were concerned, they were not German citizens. They owed a duty and allegiance to God. They would not take sworn an oath to Germany. They only could swear to God. They only took like an oath to God. Yeah, swear to God. They took an oath. They only had to abide by God's laws, not man's laws. As long as they were in compliance with God's laws, they were fine as far as they were concerned as a people. They do not abide by, a national law or a national, government.
Which is funny because a lot of our judiciary, especially our House of Lords, has been changed to the Supreme Court, like you got in America, and the heads of that are all Jewish.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That is funny, and Bill Gates has been invited over as a lord of England now. So there we are.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they don't consider themselves citizens of England, If they're truly Hebrew. Like me. To me, I'm a citizen to the Lentz family. I have a duty and obligation to the Lentz family.
Of course.
I'm not a citizen to anything else on planet Earth. I sort of say, well, don't you owe a duty and allegiance to God? You always abide by God's laws. It's like, no, I have to abide by the Lentz law. I have to provide and protect and secure my family. They come first. God's law comes second. And they say, and if you talk to a Hebrew, they say that's ridiculous, blah, blah, God's law is the supreme law, da, 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 da. I said, the only problem is, I said, when I die and I meet God, I think he'll understand when I said, God, I don't think you really needed me to secure and protect you or hold your law. I think, my family needed me a little bit more than you needed me, God.
True.
I believe I did godly work while I was here, but you better believe my first duty and obligation is to the Lentzes, not to God. If God told me to strike my family down or kill them, I'd say, yeah, okay, you know what? Why don't you just strike me down and leave them alone?
Exactly.
It's like, no, I order you to do it. Well, you know what? I think you're going to do your own damn dirty work. I think my first duty and obligation is to my Creator. My mom, my dad, my family.
Yeah.
I'm your Creator. Well, okay, well, that's special. You know what? Then if you the Creator, you strike them down. You could destroy them. I can't. I didn't create them. I can't destroy them. I have no right to destroy them. I didn't create them. I can only destroy that which I create. I'm always sovereign over that which I create.
Exactly. Don't worry, I'm 24/7 on the audios. I'm on top of that, but it's just some finer little points that are confusing me. Now, if I may, there's a little thing here about a solicitor. So, what happened with Barley and this farmer guy is Barley went into the Royal Courts of Justice, went to Queen's Bench Division because he's a wise man, and he got the farmer guy to fill in a claim form, but he got him to fill it in as the defendant, not as the claimant. Which is amusing in its own right, but it gets even funnier then, is because then the council's in-house solicitors agree to fill out the form also, but as the claimant. So the solicitors down. I know this is special. The solicitors put down that the council, whatever like Rugby Council or whatever you had with Barley, but let's say Rugby Council is now the claimant, and the farmer man is the defendant, and all the farmer man wanted was certain points to be raised in court, and the claimant, who's the solicitor or the counsel with the solicitor lady who's operating as the principal, attorney, if you like, whatever you would call it. She's basically written in as the claim as just literally, I want to claim that this guy should be sent to prison for contempt of court for not obeying previous notices. So basically, their claim is put this guy in prison, and his defense statement was, I want a stay of execution and I want something else that was just like insignificant and something Barley put down.
Well, stay. It's not his claim.
Yeah, this is what I said.
He just fucked it up big time, man. That just sounds like all flavors of fucked up, man.
It is. Now he paid for it, so he's paid for them to, let's say, claim that he should go to prison for breach of the notice, which is quite funny. But I'm kind of in my head, I'm thinking, well, this can kind of work against the council, because the lady who's the principal solicitor has signed, it's got the bit of the way you sign when you do a claim. It's like, I swear that all in here be the truth.
Right.
She signed that, and then it's in a four-corner box, so, and if that's some sort of defence.
Oh, right. So it means nothing, right?
It means nothing, doesn't it? So, yeah. There we go. And then she signed as the principal solicitor. So it's like, well, can we use that form? I mean, the thing is, the juries can interpret the facts and the law, and obviously if you put that in front of a jury and say, look, this lady signed a claim that someone should just go to prison because that's like, and in my opinion, that's just like, there's nothing else other than I claim you should go to prison. And it's like fantastic. That's hardly a claim of where's the damages? Where's the harm?
Yeah.
Where's the injury? Where's the loss?
Why should you go to prison? Right. What's the purpose? Yeah.
You can't say go to prison. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows a malicious intent, if you know what I mean. And the other thing in this case is the only thing they're claiming for is legal costs. So there are no damages that they're claiming for. They're just claiming for like 20, 30 grand of legal costs.
Yeah.
Right. And they're dealing with a statute, an act, which, based on what you said about Frank and being in the private, even if he did touch your daughter, it's in a private. It's not a public. It's not a public law. So if he's building on his own private land, then surely their public acts are public laws, aren't they? So
yeah, the only problem with that is that he was building on another man's land. He wasn't building on his.
Oh, really?
See, that was the shame. Oh yeah, that's why I didn't really fucking help that guy, because he was on somebody else's land.
Was he? I don't know.
Yeah, he was just a tenant. That's why I didn't really get involved. Once I found out he was on somebody else's land, I was like, well, you know what? There's nothing really I could do.
Is it? Well, I was.
Because they're going to scare. Because even if I can convince the farmer to fight, if the man who's doing it could fight, the man who actually controls the land, owns the land that he leases the land from, is going to get muscled by the crown.
Who told you that he doesn't own the land?
Somebody told me that his landlord wanted him to take down the damn barn because he didn't want to fight the fucking crown.
No.
He didn't want the crown to come after him.
No, it's different. That's not exactly correct.
Well,
what happens
you better find out whose deeds. You better find out whose name's on the deed to the land.
He's got the deeds to this land. The land that he rents out is the land that he grazes his cattle on. That's the only land that he grazes out.
Okay.
And what happened is the council contacted the leaseholder of the grazing land and says, you better take this guy's lease down to 1 year, so that they could then go to the Attorney General or whoever it was and say, yeah, look, he's only got a 1 year tenure. There's not a long term sustainability for him to be here, or to warrant him having his own dwelling house or farmhouse or home, as you might say. So they basically used that against him to say that you've only got a 1-year tenure on the cattle, so there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to graze your cattle in the long term. But that's been changed now because the pressure that was put on the leasehold, the lease giver, if you like. That's been changed now, and he's got another 5-10 year lease on it. But it was just something that was done. It was a purely opportune attack that the council did to put some pressure on the people supporting this farmer, so that they could obviously get him to obey their will, if you like. Because the guy who owns the leasehold, or this greenbelt land, you can't do anything with it really, according to them, apart from raise cattle or look at the grass grow. So the way that they did it is the guy who owned the leasehold on that land, or owned the land, he wanted a big building project being done with the same council. So they kind of used that to negotiate to stop giving this guy more than a 1-year tenure on the grazing land. So when they went to the Attorney General, they could say to the Attorney General, "Oh, he's only got 1 year lease on it." It puts him in a weaker spot. But that's been sorted now.
Yeah, like I said, though, to me, there's just too many moving pieces there, and there's too many. Like your story now sounds totally plausible, but the story I heard is that he was afraid that the man that he was leasing property from was being muscled by the Crown, and he was afraid to lose the lease that he had. With you know what I'm saying? It was just too many moving pieces to me. I mean, too many people come with two different stories. I never talked to the farmer. The farmer never called me.
Yeah.
So if he never calls me, I'm not going to call him.
No, I was trying to get him to call you unfortunately it was during the January-February time, which is when you're insanely busy, so it wasn't
Yeah,
ideal.
but that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to go solicit somebody. I'm not going to do it.
No.
I'm not going to say, "Hey, look, pal, somebody told me to call you." No. You call me. You need my help, you call me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to solicit you. I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If he's really that interested, it's like people who get their kids taken away. It's in the news, and so call this family. No. You call the family, you write them an email, say there's a man named Karl, let's be more than glad to help.
Okay, cool.
But if they don't want to fucking call me, I'm not going to twist their arm.
No, of course not.
I'm not going to fucking bother them.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm not going to try to convince them my beliefs or their beliefs. I'm not going to try to do it. I'm not going to do it. If they want to believe what I believe, fine. If they don't want to believe believe whatever you want. Your beliefs are my beliefs.
No, he feels like he is quite a religious man. He understands this common law as it feels right, and he knows it's right. But he just doesn't believe that the system will accept it or change to because obviously when Barley came in and built his hopes up, and obviously that was all common law angle.
Yeah, well, he's always not an honourable man.
You and I both know that for various reasons. But
what I'm saying, if he's not an honourable man, he's not going to prevail. Crown's going to see right through it. He's going to see right through it.
Yeah.
Can't fake it.
Yeah.
Especially with that shit-eating grin he's got on all the time, man. He always thinks he's fucking somebody over. He thinks it's charming. And it's like, yeah, look at that shit-eating grin, man. You're trying to fuck somebody over. You're trying to get something nothing.
Well, that's why I was so concerned about his involvement with this farmer, you see, because I was like, hang on a minute. And then when I realised what was his friend who had the farm, that little guy who ran on, I can't remember that guy's name.
Oh, Charlie?
Was it Charlie? Yeah, Charlie, who had his little small hold, or whatever you call it, his little farm that he had going on. I thought, oh, here we go, he wants to expand his farming enterprise to come down the south and do this guy over. And when I found out he sold the house to Barley for $5,000, I was just like, oh my God, this sounds disastrous. But thankfully they had an agreement where they'd reverse all the agreements if Barley couldn't get his way in the court. So.
Yeah, if he couldn't prevail, yeah, that's good.
Well, I was so happy for the farmer in that sense, but obviously that still didn't leave the threats of going to prison, and it's those threats that have made him have to feel like he has to comply to knock his house down, which he's now demolished. So yeah. Yeah,
you said he started to knock it down, or he did knock it down?
He basically in the last 3 weeks started he's dismantling it in a way that if he can rebuild it in the future, he will. He's not like just bulldozing the crap out of it. He's disassembling it piece by piece so that he can reassemble it. Yeah,
that makes sense. Like I'm doing now, I'm building a deck, like a porch, a deck. I don't know what you guys call it, a landing. I don't know what you guys call it over there.
Decking, yeah, fine.
Yeah, so I'm doing it using screws, so I could disassemble it and move it if I have to. I'm not going to have to beat it with a sledgehammer to take all the nails out of it.
Now, in relation to this farmer, Karl, I'm happy for him to phone you, but he likes to talk as much as you do. so
what about the farmer in relation to what?
He likes to talk a lot, He loves a long story, and he'll give you the long story. which is
I
fine.
won't let him do it. I won't let him give me the long story.
All right, well, okay. I'm just warning you, giving you a heads up. He likes.
No, you know me better than that. It ain't gonna happen. I'll say, shut the fuck up. I'm talking.
Brilliant. Okay, good.
Yeah, so like I just did to some poor guy who's 32 years old. I said, hey, when you hear my mouth, when you hear my voice, you shut up.
Perfect.
I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not your daddy. When I speak, you shut up.
Yeah. So that
you need something from me. You need something from me. I don't need nothing from you.
Exactly. Couldn't put it better. So yeah, that's basically it. So if I just give him your phone number, maybe at some point this weekend I'll get him to give you a call just to introduce himself, and you can say hi, and then whatever you want to say to him is fine. But like I said, he's aware of you. He's not. Unfortunately, he's not into watching videos and stuff. He's a farmer. He doesn't watch videos. He's out in the field.
Yeah, well, maybe you watch my last one. It might make a lot of sense. I'm saving me a lot of fucking time. Explaining a lot of shit to him.
Well, I can sit down with him and say, look, we're going to watch this video, and then you're going to call Karl.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. That might be.
I'm going to quiz you. I'm going to quiz you. What did I say at the 1 hour 47 second mark?
Yeah, exactly. That Tennessee one was interesting because it started up with that redneck guy with the funny crude cut, and he was asking about this, the birth certificate and the beneficiary. And I don't get into that rubbish. I'm just like, oh, whatever,
Who asked me that?
The blonde guy. He's about 46, I'd say, about 45, 46, and he had
somebody asked me a question. You mean during the
Tennessee?
show?
Yeah, in Tennessee, he opened the show up.
And the recent one?
Yeah. Because he asked you about the birth certificate and the beneficiary and what's that funny word they always use all the time with the birth certificate and the trust? Cescate. Yeah, cescate.
Yeah,
whatever.
It just means for the benefit of
Yeah. And thankfully he didn't go through that on the show. But I'm just like, it keeps coming up. This trust. It's the free man stuff, isn't it? All this beneficiary of the trust.
Yeah, it is. It's YouTube videos.
I'm just not interested.
You're not gonna find that shit in a book. You're gonna always find it on YouTube. So all this SSK trust shit, you're not gonna find their definition of this SSK trust through a video. You're gonna watch this through a video. You'll never find it written in a textbook. Anything that they're saying.
Yeah, well, it's their creation anyway, isn't it? Or whoever there is.
It's just a benefit. The setting of every trust is a SSK trust. Every trust is in a benefit for somebody, the beneficiary. Every trust is a SSK trust.
Mm-mm.
So they try to say, oh, SSK trust. What's SSK trust? There's only 10 trillion of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one? Anyone in particular?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Right?
Would you like to talk about one in particular? The one of 1666? Oh, you mean the one during the Great London Fire? That one? You want to talk about that one? Okay, let's talk about the Great London Fire. We want to talk about the plague. That one?
Yeah.
Is that the one you want to talk about? Fine, let's talk about it.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I remember you talking about that, actually.
Yeah.
They put all the stuff in the warehouse and gave people 7 years to claim it back if they came forward, didn't they? Or something like that. Something along those lines.
Come back in 7 years if the owners don't come back to London. They decide to stay in London, and you found a set of candlesticks, and nobody claims it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll give it to you.
Yeah.
It's that simple. If not, it's going to go to the Crown. It's going to go to the government. Government's going to claim it. If you die, in 7 years, well, you don't get the candlesticks, well, obviously you're dead. And the people who left London, abandoned the candlesticks, well, they got 7 years to come get them. If they don't, well, and you die in 7 years, well, then the Crown's going to keep it. No big deal. It becomes property of the Crown. Big deal. That's how every fucking trust is run between the government. And then the government always has so many big warehouses, and they'll auction this shit off. That has nothing to do with a human being. Well, you got 7 years to claim your birth certificate, whatever. Oh, insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, who would even think that's even plausible?
Yeah.
That makes any form of logical sense whatsoever to anybody is beyond me.
Well, that's whenever I hear birth certificates, I just think, oh, someone's gone free. Someone's watched too much Free Man stuff, And I'm just like, you've never really mentioned about birth certificates at all in your videos. I mean, it's not something that I recall you going into any detail. I'm kind of pleased about that.
What's that? Going into detail about what?
The birth certificate malarkey. You don't
go.
It
means nothing to me.
Exactly.
It means nothing to me. Means nothing to me.
It's a tool, isn't it? At the end of the day?
There could be trillions of birth certificates written. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a piece of paper. Who cares? It's a piece of paper. Who cares?
Yeah.
What do I care? It's a piece of paper. It has nothing to do with man. It has to do with some society got together and they decided to doodle some script.
Oh shit. Alright, cool.